How old are Lieutenant James T. Kirk, Paul Wesley, and Lieutenant Spock, Ethan Peck, in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3? The highly anticipated Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3 premieres at the Tribeca Film Festival on June 14, although its Paramount Plus premiere date is still unknown. Nevertheless, Strange New Worlds Season 3 picks up immediately from Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 2's finale cliffhanger. After the USS Enterprise's conflict with the Gorn is resolved, a time jump is expected in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. This is verified by the longer hair and changing looks of Ensign Nyota Uhura, Celia Rose Gooding, and Nurse Christine Chappell, Jess Bush. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds began in 2259, months after the end of Star Trek, Discovery Season 2. Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3's time jump would bring the prequel to 2261 to mark the centennial anniversary of the United Federation of Planets. When Star Trek, Strange New Worlds eventually ends, Kirk will be promoted to captain of the Enterprise, and Spock will become his first officer. However, this is still about 5 years away from Strange New Worlds Season 3's timeframe. Here is how old Kirk and Spock are in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. How old Lieutenant James T. Kirk is in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. Kirk is the youngest first officer in Starfleet. Lieutenant James T. Kirk was born in Iowa in 2233, which means Kirk is 28 years old in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. In Strange New Worlds Season 2, Kirk was promoted to first officer of the USS Farragut. This makes Jim the youngest first officer in Starfleet, which beats the record set by his father, Lieutenant George Kirk. Although he serves on a different starship, Strange New Worlds finds reasons to have Kirk visit the Starship Enterprise, and this will continue in Strange New Worlds Season 3. James T. Kirk canonically becomes captain of the Enterprise in 2265 at the age of 32, which will make him one of the youngest starship captains in Starfleet. However, Kirk's Kelvin timeline doppelganger in J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies has the Prime Universe's Kirk beat. James T. Kirk, Chris Pine, becomes captain of the Enterprise at 25 years old in Star Trek, 2009. Paul Wesley plays the younger version of the Captain Kirk originated by William Shatner in Star Trek, the original series, and Strange New Worlds is the beginning of Kirk's legend. How old Lieutenant Spock is in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. Spock is older than his future best friend Kirk. Lieutenant Spock was born on Vulcan in 2230, which makes Spock 31 years old in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3. Spock is the half-Vulcan and half-human son of Ambassador Sarek, Mark Leonard, James Frain, and Amanda Grayson, Jane Wyatt, M.I.A. Kirshner. Spock is also the adoptive brother of Captain Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, of Star Trek, Discovery. In Strange New Worlds, Spock and Sarek are not on speaking terms after the son defied his father's wishes and joined Starfleet. Ensign Spock joined the USS Enterprise as a science officer sometime around 2254. As of Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3, Spock has served on the Enterprise under Captain Christopher Pike, Jeffrey Hunter, Anson Mount, for about 6 to 7 years. Spock will remain aboard the Enterprise when Kirk becomes captain, and the Vulcan will assume the dual role of first officer and science officer. Ethan Peck plays the younger version of Spock, originated by Leonard Nimoy in Star Trek, the original series. Paul Wesley and Ethan Peck play Kirk and Spock younger in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. You'd never know it from their performances. Uhura introduces Spock to Kirk in Strange New Worlds. Although Lieutenant James T. Kirk and Lieutenant Spock are in their late 20s and early 30s in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3, they are portrayed by actors who are older than their characters. Paul Wesley is 42 years old, but plays a younger Kirk by about 14 years. Wesley's youthful appearance makes him believable as Kirk pushing 30. After all, Wesley played the vampire Stefan Salvatore for 8 seasons of The Vampire Diaries before being cast as Kirk in Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. Similarly, Ethan Peck is 39 years old, several years older than Lieutenant Spock on Star Trek, Strange New Worlds. Interestingly, Spock is canonically older than Kirk by 3 years, but Paul Wesley is older than Peck by 3 years. Theoretically, when Star Trek, Strange New Worlds ends, Paul Wesley and Ethan Peck would be game to continue playing Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock in a reboot of Star Trek, the original series. However, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 3 will start to build the eternal friendship between Kirk and Spock.